Selvey. Mel, how you feeling today?
I'm doing good. Great to be with you guys.
Yeah, one day, like, the Bears will pick 25th, and we won't need you as much. But right now, we really could use your help.
That's fine. I'll tell you, Ryan Poles doesn't need any help. I'm a big fan of Ryan. He does a great job, and it's a difficult decision. I go back and forth on this almost by the hour. And if it is the case, I came to the conclusion about a week or so ago, when you're going back and forth by the minute, hour, day, you just have to reset the clock and make the move and trade Justin Fields and draft Caleb Williams. If you feel strongly that Justin has turned the corner and the players love him and we know he can keep getting a little better and he could be great, then you trade the first pick and you move forward with Justin Fields. So it's a tough call. It's because Caleb was so good in 2022, and even at the start of this past season until he kind of hit a little bit, I wouldn't say a slump, but struggled a bit after really the Notre Dame game on through the rest of the year. Had a couple games after that where he was around 55, 57%, but he's so good. Even when people say he was struggling, he still wasn't throwing interceptions, and he completed a higher percentage of his passes this year than he did last year.
So this was not an obvious decision to you. You really struggled making this decision.
Really did. I'm a big Justin Fields fan. I was coming out. I had him as second highest rated quarterback. I like what I've seen. He's a great kid. He's tough. He's got all the talent you would want from an arm strength standpoint. You know what kind of athlete and kind of runner he is. He's a dual threat, which gives defensive coordinators and defenses fits. But can he take the next step? You know about holding the ball a little too long, locking on, missing some layups here and there. But, he's still young, and if you think he can keep developing and they feel like they may have an infrastructure around him that's better than the previous one in terms of coaching and system and that, which makes a quarterback, and get another player, a receiver to help out DJ Moore, develop these receivers, which they haven't been able to do there. The new wide receiver coach coming in, the coordinator, quarterback coach, like I said, the infrastructure around Justin would be better, but it would be that way around Caleb. And, hey, guys, maybe Justin ends up being really good and Caleb ends up being really good, and it's no harm, no foul.
Mel, you mentioned how his 2022 season was different than his 2023 season, Caleb Williams. If we project, if Caleb doesn't work out, whether it's here or somewhere else, it'll be because of what?
I think because of the fact that he is so improv, so much on the fly. Just if things break down, he can do it in a structured situation. And again, I think that's up to the coordinator. That's up to the system. Tailor it towards him. They said the same thing about Patrick Mahomes when he came out of Texas Tech. Improv, does a lot of great things, but from the pocket, I've seen Caleb do great things from the pockets. I don't believe in that. People say leadership. Well, guess what? He didn't have Jordan Addison this year. Things went awry a little bit at USC. I don't see any great offensive linemen. I didn't see any great wide receiver. They had a good running back, but they didn't use them necessarily enough. And also, you think about it. You have agents now. You're doing commercials. You're a pro when you're playing college. He had won the Heisman. He had done all those great things. The team wasn't going to play for the national title, and you get distracted a little bit. And then people start to criticize, and they don't see the greatness every week that you saw in 2022. So you start nitpicking a bit. But I think Caleb's got everything. He can throw he's got what you call arm talent, all arm angles, accuracy. He was at 66%, a little over 66% when everybody said he was Mahomes-like. He's at 68.6 this year. He's 72 touchdowns, 10 picks. You factor in the rushing touchdowns, he's 93 touchdowns and 10 picks over the last 2 years. Are you kidding me? So, again, people want to, like I say, criticize, nitpick. Caleb Williams, I think, is going to be a great NFL quarterback. If you think Justin can be in another year with that infrastructure around him, then you move forward with him. That's why I say this is a call where both could be really good. And like I say, then you're saying, hey, we can't make a bad decision here if you think that. If you think one can be maybe a little better than the other, then you got to go that route. And if you believe they're even, you reset the clock and you go with Caleb. So, and this notion, well, you got to develop them. We see what C.J. Stroud did right away. Took Josh Allen to a second year before he was really turned a corner and was great. Mahomes redshirted his first year, then was great. So, again, there's no easy decision. This is not easy by any stretch, and I think the Bears have to wait it out. They just brought in some new coaches from the offensive side. Wait it out, do all your due diligence, and then make the right call.
Mel, you know as well as anyone, this is an inexact science. It's hard to project how guys are going to take that next step in the National Football League. But as you look back, and I think everybody probably had Mitch at the top of their draft board going back to, what was it, the 2017 draft. When you look back in time, and not everybody had Patrick Mahomes at the top of that list, why, when you look back, you look at there and you say, why didn't we project who Patrick was going to be?
Because a lot of people don't project. They want to see it.
Okay.
You know, you have to see it. You have to see it. What we're seeing now. Nobody had Josh Allen. Everybody said, "Oh, did you have to look at." I call it Craig Bowie. He says the toughest, most competitive player I've ever coached in my life. I talked to Craig a lot out there. So again, it takes one thing to tip. People say, "Well, you got to do this. You got to do that." There's no perfect way to evaluate a quarterback. Sometimes it's gut feel. Sometimes one thing you hear. In Josh Allen's case, Craig Bowie convinced me. In Justin Herbert's case, I called Oregon. I had heard all things. He's not the alpha. He's more happy in the classroom than he is on the football field. He's not a great leader. He's not a take-charge guy. Doesn't command a room. I called a good contact I had with the football program at Oregon. He said, "Mel, you don't have to yell and scream to be able to get a guy that people respect, players respect. They love this guy. They'll go through a wall for Justin Herbert." So sometimes just little calls like that. I called people on Jimmy Clausen. Didn't work out. I got grave things back on Jimmy. I went with Jimmy. It didn't work out with Jimmy. So, but it worked out for me with Justin Herbert. It worked out with Josh Allen. So, no, nothing's perfect. You can't lose your confidence because you make a mistake. But I'll tell you this, guys, it can destroy a program because, if you miss on a quarterback, I'll go back and I'll tell you a quick story. Kansas City tried to trade up to get Paxton Lynch. They failed. Denver got him. Yeah. Because of not being able to trade up, they traded down and took Chris Jones. Next year, they took Patrick Mahomes. My point being, had they been successful in doing the deal they wanted to do and got Paxton Lynch, they wouldn't have had Chris Jones. They wouldn't have had Patrick Mahomes.
Wow.
And Andy Reid wouldn't be a Hall of Fame coach. Think about that, guys. Yeah. So one trade that didn't happen saved the Kansas City Chiefs franchise.
And they're as good as anybody at evaluating talent.
Yes.
But how would they have been if Paxton Lynch would have been their pick, and they would have never had Mahomes?
Yeah,
and Chris Jones. All right, so a couple of things building on that. We're talking to Mel Kiper Jr. When you say they could be even, Justin and Caleb Williams, and I know the clock reference. I threw this at Greg Olson, too, and a lot of the people, this is a very polarizing topic in Chicago because a lot of people love Justin, rightfully so, just like you do, because they see he's one of one as an athlete, Mel. Like there aren't many guys who can do what he can do. So if you can get another haul for the number one pick while keeping Justin and continuing to just double down on all these first-round picks, would that be enough to sway you if you grade them close to being even and instead of wanting to reset the clock, wanting you to just build up more draft capital?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I could not be critical of Ryan Poles either way here. I mean, this is. I'm going back by the minute. I'm switching. I like Justin enough to keep on. You got to reset it. Yeah, how much is Justin convincing me that he's the guy? So no, I would have no problem with that. They have no second because of the great Montez Sweat trade, which has turned out to be a heck of a trade, right? Made up for the Claypool trade. So they have no two. Recoup that. You could recoup that by trading Justin. People say you can get a 2 and a 4 for Justin. We'll see. For Caleb, obviously that number one pick's going to get you more than that. But I think getting that 2 back, however you do, it's important. This is a deep year for wide receivers. It's a great year at other positions in terms of depth. You can find players in this draft down the line, but you got to have those picks. So I'm with you. I would have no problem at all, guys, if they traded the number one pick and went forward with Justin. I would have no problem if they drafted Caleb and traded Justin. To me, I think both are going to be real. Justin's already shown he can be good. Okay, can he be really, really good? Can he be special? Can he be top 5, top 7 in the league? Caleb, we think, can be, but hey, I thought Trevor would be, and Trevor's not there right now.
Yeah.
I thought Trevor could be generational. He's not generational yet. So some of it's not anything to do with him. It's about some things around him. But bottom line is, can Caleb be that great? Yes, he can. Will he be? I don't know. I don't have that crystal ball.
All right, so and then we want to ask you, too, about the compensation for Justin here in a little bit. But building off of also what you just said there, is there a scenario, because they have the number 9 pick, where they can trade down with the number 1 pick? And then could they, what you were saying with the quarterbacks, where other quarterbacks that you never would have thought would be the best quarterback in the class, is there a scenario where you can see them not taking Caleb Williams, but they trade down and take another quarterback later in the first round?
Yes, I could. I think J.J. McCarthy from Michigan, Bo Nix from Oregon, Michael Penix Jr., Washington, are going to be very interesting where they come off the board. I have J.J. going 16 to Seattle. I don't have Bo or Michael in the first round because I couldn't project the trade. I do think Bo Nix is a quarterback somebody could trade back into the first and get. Same thing for McCarthy if he slid down. So I think there's other quarterbacks in this draft. Michael Pratt at Tulane could be a 5th, 6th round guy. Carter Bradley, Gus Bradley's son out of South Alabama, could be a late round pick. So there's other quarterbacks you could maybe roll the dice with. We're not going to find a Tom Brady and a Brock Purdy, maybe one every 20 years. Good luck trying to find that guy. I mean, it's just hard. But some people believe in taking a quarterback in the draft every year, 5th, 6th, 7th round. Take one every year and see if you can develop them and strike gold. But no, I think they could take a quarterback at some point. Ernie, of course, he's always said it. You're always trying to hit that grand slam. And again, a quarterback they could. Wide receiver, I have them taking Romo Dunze from Washington at 9. So if they can get Romo Dunze, put him opposite DJ Moore, boy, you got something going there. If they want to pass on that, they have depth at wide receiver. You recoup a 2. There's a lot. I think there's going to be 6 wide receivers going round 2 that are pretty doggone good. So there's a lot of ways. They have a lot of options and a lot of ways to attack it. And for me to sit back and for Bears fans to sit back and watch this whole thing play out, it's going to be fun. I think you can't go wrong with Fields. I think he's already proven he can be good. The question is, can he be great? Caleb is an unknown, but so is Justin as to whether he can be great. So there's 2 unknowns there. What unknown are you going to roll the dice with and hope it can become a known?
So ultimately, Mel, based on your experience and the people you're talking to, if in fact the Bears did decide to pivot and move away from Justin and decided to trade him, what do you believe they would get in return? Because I think at one point we had heard that you said that maybe they could get the 8th pick of the draft from the Atlanta Falcons, and that really made people kind of open their eyes.
Yeah, I thought they could, and I've had people say, well, that's not going to happen. They're not going to give up. So I said, well, if that's not going to happen, well, it's about resetting the clock. Remember,
Right.
You're coming to the point where you got to pay Justin. You're going to have to pay him. Well, Daniel Jones got a lot of money when it got to that point. So that's the tricky part of this is that topic that we don't have time to get into today. But I think when you look at where we are with Justin right now, I'm hearing the 8th pick isn't going to happen. Okay, that's what you hear now. I threw it out there. I said, why wouldn't Atlanta give up the 8th pick for Justin Fields? Well, it's about the money. It's about that. Well, if you believe in Justin, you do it. So I'm still not convinced of that, but people that I respect are saying 2nd and 4th. 2nd and 4th. And that's what I'm hearing. Now, is that etched in stone? I don't know, but that's what everybody I ask about. What can you get back for Justin? A 2 and a 4. Caleb, it's a bonanza. But for Justin, and let's say the Caleb Williams, there's work still to be done. The interview process, all those things are important. I'm not a fan of pro day. I think pro days mean nothing. But the interview process, doing your due diligence, checking with coaches that have worked with him, players that have played with him, they're going to do all that. But I think as it plays out and we get to late April, that's going to be I said it today on my podcast with Field Yates. It's the most difficult decision any team has in this draft going in, and one of the most difficult decisions any GM's had in a while, because you have an existing talent who's pretty good, and the players love him.
Mel,
and to pivot away from him and go with Caleb Williams, who looks like he could be great, but we don't know. Boy, I'll tell you what, that's why Ryan Poles is the GM there. And like I said, hopefully, guys, both these quarterbacks will be really, really good, and nobody will have a problem.
Mel, if Caleb was in last year's draft, would he have been the first quarterback by a large margin, in your opinion?
It's difficult to say projecting quarterbacks where we are right now because you just don't know every year how the process is going to play out. And the process has just begun. Right now, I would say yes, but we haven't gotten through this yet. We still haven't gotten through it. Jaden Daniels right now is that fast riser that went from think about this, guys. He was a 4th rounder last year. I spoke with his mom, Regina, for hours about go back, go back, go back. They were thinking about coming out. Go back. And all the reasons why going back was going to benefit Jade. He ends up winning the Heisman, the Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award. Now he could be the 2nd, 3rd pick in the draft. So the rush to the NFL, no. Take your time. Play it out. Maximize. If you're not going to be a guaranteed first-round pick, go back. So Jaden, I think a lot of kids should look at that and say, okay, but for Jaden, that monumental leap, how do teams view a guy who went from a 4th rounder to the 2nd, 3rd pick overall? That's going to play out over the next year. How do you deal with Drake May, who looked great in 2022, but lost his top receiver, Josh Downs, his 2nd best receiver, and his OC, and didn't have Tez Walker for the first 4 games, and had 3 games where he was not very good against Virginia, NC State, and Clemson. How do you view Drake May now? So, again, all these 3 quarterbacks are going to be interesting how teams, the finality of the evaluation in late April, how does it look?
Yeah.
You mentioned Odunze at number 9. We've talked to people who love him. If the Bears got Odunze, how much better would they be offensively?
Oh, boy, a 6'3", 215-pounder who had 14 of 15 games when he had 5 or more catches. In the one game he didn't. He went for 3 catches, 111 yards, and 2 touchdowns against Utah. Would have had a couple, probably 3 or 4 more catches in the championship game had Michael Penix Jr. got him the football. He is special because he's smooth, he's consistent, he's reliable, and he's a competitor. And, yeah, I think he or Malik Neighbors, whichever one. A lot of people think Malik Neighbors. I have him going 6. That's based on what I'm hearing. I think he's going to be gone. There's a chance that Odunze could be there if you go offensive tackle. Tennessee takes, say, Joe Alt instead of Odunze. They could see him still be there, but it's not a guarantee that one of those 2 receivers will still be on the board at pick number 9.
Who is the top-rated player, regardless of position, on your list, Mel?
Well, regardless, Caleb would be 1 and Marvin Harrison Jr. would be 2. Those are your top 2 on the board. Then it gets into Jaden and Drake. Then Odunze for me. And then, obviously, Malik Neighbors. And you get to Joe Alt, the tackle from Notre Dame, and Fashanu, the tackle from Penn State. I call it, guys, and Brock Bowers is way up there, too. He's at 5'6". So I call it the nifty 9. There's the 9 best players in this draft are offensive players, guys. They're the best players, the top 9 are offensive players. And that's my nifty 9. And Brock Bowers I have going 5 overall to the Chargers right now.
So then the 9th spot's a great spot for the Bears to be in.
Well, you could. That's why I think Atlanta, if they don't make a deal for a quarterback, could draft at that point a defensive player, a pass rusher, like Dallas Turner, Laiatu Latu, if his neck injury from when he retired medically and came back and played it at UCLA after being at Washington. If that checks out, it's one of those pass rushers maybe for Atlanta, which leaves 2 nifty 9 for Chicago. Maybe 2 are there. I actually had Odunze there and Fashion there for the Jets. So if a defensive player jumps in there, it pushes 2 out of the top 9, obviously, because you got nifty 9, so that guarantees you 1, right? Could lead to maybe 2 still being there. So we'll see. But those 9 offensive players are great players, and it depends on need. But Atlanta has that defensive need for a pass rusher that could allow that to happen.
Let's accelerate the process here. Let's say the draft is Saturday, Mel. So I mean, get ready.
I wish it was.
Right, I know. but let's just say that it is Saturday, because so much can happen between now and draft day. We understand that. But if we said to you, or you said to us on Monday, that the Chicago Bears came away with Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze, is that an A? I mean, are we getting an A if we put in letter grades to this thing? Is this a draft where we look at it and we say Ryan Poles did some real work here?
Yeah, I think Caleb and the Rome would be phenomenal. And then you've obviously traded Justin, and what did you get in return there? You obviously got a second-round pick, so you recouped the pick you lost for Montez Sweat, who, by the way, he becomes part of this draft. You gave up a 2 for Montez Sweat, okay? So Montez Sweat is kind of part of this draft equation because you used the pick to get him. So, again, people were critical of the Claypool trade, but how about this trade? Worked out pretty good so far. So I think you got to factor that in, and what you get for Justin if you do trade him would also make this draft a little bit better and give you an opportunity to get maybe 2 more players or maybe 3 more players that you wouldn't have gotten.
You're still in Baltimore, aren't you?
I am waiting for the Sunday, very anticipating a victory and a Super Bowl for the Ravens. I wouldn't say shocked, but I'd be really surprised if the Ravens going to finish this off and move on to the Super Bowl. They are a team that's on a mission. Their defense, I think, is going to cause trouble for Mahomes, who has that one great target and maybe a Rice and not much else. The O-line is going to be dealing with a crowd noise. I've been on that field, guys. The crowd noise here is unlike just about any other. It's a tremendous home field advantage. You saw that against Houston when they had 6 pre-snap penalties. I think those offensive tackles are prone to penalties. There'll be more of a problem for them on Sunday. I think the offense for the Ravens, you can run the ball. The Buffalo Bills had success running. They were gashing it for a while. Really, had it not been for Chris Jones pushing Deion Dawkins into Josh and causing that incomplete pass, who knows what would have happened there. Had Tyler Bass made that field goal, who knows what would have happened. But the bottom line is I think the Ravens are set to knock off Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, move on and play the 49ers in the Super Bowl.
Hey, YouTube. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be notified when we post new videos.